Warm Christmas greetings to you. Welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf. Tonight, we bring you the conclusion of a reflective conversation which we started with the Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amaechi, last week. 2021 was meant to be the recovery year from the hardship imposed by COVID-19 and the attendant lockdowns which accompanied it. We ask in this concluding segment what measures the Transport Ministry came up with to lighten the load on businesses in an economy which is largely import dependent. In the ports, for instance, where we know that we're an import-dependent nation.
Economy,
we've been told that a lot of times. So the ports are critical. There have been talks about why we should develop more ports. I don't know what work we're doing in that regard. But for the ones that are existing, for the ports that are there, we've been told about congestion at the ports. We've been told about inefficiencies at the port. And, of course, Demurrage would have...
How free are you to be able to go around a bit?
No,
question.
These are the concerns.
No, they are your concerns.
Have they reached your ear?
No.
These are the concerns that we've heard from business people. Have these concerns reached your ear?
But you know me very well, and you know that I'm not a big man minister. I'm on the street. But when we came in, we decided to construct the Lekki Deep Sea Port. It's the first seaport in Nigeria. Apapa is a river port. Tinkan is a river port. Port Harcourt is a river port. Onne is a river port. Warri is a river port. Calabar is a river port. The first deep sea port facing the sea directly is Lekki. And we'll complete it in September next year.
I'm aware of the Lekki Deep Sea Port.
You are?
But when people are talking about ports being decentralized, they're talking about the fact that as we know it today, the Lagos port, maybe followed by Onne in Port Harcourt, the busiest ports. They've been talking about, even the current governor of Lagos, recently when governors had a meeting, the governors from the South governors of the South, one of the things that he said is that let other ports be opened up. I'm sure he was very aware of Lagos, of the Lekki, ports right within his state when he made that statement.
No. If you're talking about infrastructure, I don't think that he has enough information about infrastructure, because the
governor of Lagos does not have sufficient infrastructure on ports.
If that's what he's talking about,
when he's feeling the weight of what is happening at the ports in his state.
The fact that they are using Lagos more than any other thing does not mean that the other seaports are not functioning. They are. The reason why most people use Lagos, two reasons. The first is the security. The security in the water. Now that we have deployed security in the water, not as perfect as we want to be, as we continue to improve the security heading towards Port Harcourt, that's how goods begin to go towards Port Harcourt, Warri, and all that. So the first thing to discharge is the responsibility of ensuring that vessels have security up to the seaport in other areas. For now, the constitution of the federal government is how to secure the seaports in Apapa and Tinka. That's why people are using those two seaports.
Okay, so let that be granted.
Hold on.
The second thing is, as a result of that, if you acknowledge that as a result of security, the ports in Lagos are congested. Is that right or wrong?
Is there anybody who has denied the fact that they're not congested? What we should ask is how long have we started addressing that? The President commissioned a $195 million worth of security project. And I announced that so far there has been improvement in security in our waters since that project was launched. They are electronically based projects. They are essentially intelligence gathering, which enables Navy to attack criminals if they come to the water. There's a problem of dredging in Calabar. There's a Nigerian who is busy driving himself about that he was given that contract to dredge Calabar. He didn't.
What did we do?
I thought he should be asking the president that gave him the contract.
You don't think it's under your purview if, as Minister of Transport, it's affecting your parastatal directly?
To the FCC. The person is very big. He has immunity. So what can he do?
Is it governor?
I don't know. All I know is that he has immunity.
We do know that as a result of the congestion at the Apapa port, and maybe Tinkan as well, it is extremely expensive. Demurrage is something that is killing a lot of businesses.
I like the fact that you say that. There's somebody who addressed us on all this, and the person concluded that the demurrage are caused by terminal operators.
Indeed. Have you looked into it?
Yeah, it's just last week we got to know. Because why? We're thinking that custom was the problem. Now custom have gone e-commerce. With electronic clearing, one day your goods are out of customs, so you have no business with customs. So the problem now becomes that of MPA and the terminal operators. I'm going to address it latest first week in January. You can't keep people's goods if they've finished paying their duties. What are you keeping it for? Just to make more money.
Because, sometimes when we talk about the fact that things are getting more and more expensive in the market, the importers tell you that it's largely because of demurrage which they pay, and they transfer the cost to the consumers.
Demurrage is very small. I like the fact that you're talking about that. When I was fighting a company in Nigeria that went to the sea, set up what you can refer to as a motor park. It's called an anchorage area. He named it secure anchorage area. And then when vessels come from outside the country, when vessels come from international water, he keeps you at the so-called anchorage area for 30 days. And for every day you are there, the first day you pay $2,500. Subsequently, you pay $1,500. And then at the end of 30 days, he will escort you with other vessels to MPA seaport in the name of security. So he makes $60 million, $100 million in a year. That's what he makes. And then we were watching him. The day I said, no, you can't continue. Because who bears that cost? You and I. So if you buy this phone in Nigeria, in Ghana for 10,000 naira, in Nigeria it's sold for 15,000. Why is it sold for 15,000? That man who has put secure anchorage area in the water and are charging vessels $2,500 for the first day, subsequently $1,500 is built into this. The demurrage you're talking about is built into the 5,000.
I'm glad you see the
of course I've been saying
import.
Of course I've said that.
But the example which you gave has even raised more questions, Honourable Minister, because I'm wondering how did we even get there, where a private individual will be setting up something in the waters, Nigeria's waters.
2013 was when this quota was awarded, or this agreement was reached, and I fought it. I started fighting it until it nearly consumed me in my office. He petitioned against me that the contract for the security of the water was awarded to me. And it was at $195 million, and it was to me. They had to send 4 sets of investigation. There was a committee headed by the Vice President, and I said it on the day we were commissioning the project. There was a committee headed by Minister for Defense, and I said it again on the day we were commissioning the project. EFCC was commissioned to investigate that allegation. Yeah, okay, 3, not 4. And I'm waiting for the report.
What's the status now?
Of course, the president approved that it be cancelled.
So there is no such anchorage?
No more.
What has taken its place?
The government security that was approved. Because I told them, I'm waiting for him to continue to secure the place if he will not charge 2,000. Because his letter to the federal government that federal government is paying no money. So if the government is paying no money, what's the base of the Minister for Transport? That is not about me, it's about the man on the street. So if you yank off that 2,500 you collect per day for the first day from the vessels, and the $1,500 you collect from them multiplied by 30 days, then if you yank it off, please, you can take over the whole water. Put as many vessels as you want to put in the water, put security men there, and I have nothing to complain about.
Well, you've talked about security a few times and how it affects your work. You've talked about how it's affected even the ports, the use of ports in Lagos and a few other places. And in many parts of the country, the security situation has been pretty tough. I'm just wondering, when you have these conversations at the Federal Executive Council, do you think, excuse me, I do not know if security matters come up there.
It doesn't.
We're not privy to it.
It doesn't come up by the cabinet.
Do you think that we understand sufficiently the problem confronting us in terms of security as a people?
Even you don't understand what the issues are.
I'm not in government.
You don't need to be in government to understand what the problems are. You see, when you meet these guys who attack people, these criminals who kill people, bandits and all that, it's essentially about poverty. And that poverty didn't start in this regime. Don't forget there was a time that oil was sold at $110, $114, $120 per barrel. When this government came to power, oil price fell down to $28 per barrel, $28 per barrel. And since then, it's not gone above $80 per barrel. It does not. As former chairman of Governors Forum,
yes,
I am told by the security in the meeting chaired by the former president that at every point in time, including the former Minister for Finance, at every point in time, the government must leave money behind in case Nigeria goes to war that will last Nigeria for 6 months. By the time we came in, they didn't leave money behind to last us for 3 weeks. And I was speaking at that time as chairman of Governors Forum. They didn't leave behind money that will last Nigeria for 3 weeks.
What plans has the APC government been able to, bring up? Because it was aware of the challenges.
No. Nobody knew to what magnitude this destruction had happened.
It is given that nobody will be able to know that until they get into government,
office,
until they, get into the saddle. But at least 6 years is enough time to conceptualize what the problem is and find solutions to it.
I've said to people, we're not the perfect government. We never claim that Buhari is the best, is a perfect man. He's like every other leader who has the good sides and the bad side. But he's the man who loves Nigeria. Then let's deal with what has he done when he met the magnitude of rot that he met in office. The first thing he did was say, look, we can't continue to depend on a monocrop economy. What happens to that monocrop economy is that the day that crop collapses, the entire country collapses. So there was the issue of diversification. And in diversifying the focus on agriculture, don't forget that in the past we used to import rice. Are
you aware of what has happened to the Bank of Agriculture in recent times?
If you allow me finish the interview.
By all means, go ahead.
And I can answer that. Now, when it comes to President Buhari, he says, look, if we focus on what we eat first, if we can produce what we eat, then we can deal with the other economic times they are talking about. So all this rice, importation of rice, they got it localized. How did he do it? Gentlemen, I'm not going to pay dollars. Because at the end of the day, it's the dollar that's coming from the oil sector that you're using to fund importation. We import meat up to today. I hope you know that. So that's why it's encouraging ranching. All this noise, Fulani herdsmen. How many cows are they carrying? They're not carrying up to 1 million cows. Have you seen that our farmers are finding it very difficult to go back to the farm? Well, that has to do with security. Indeed. Of course. That has to do with security. So that's the reason why I'm trying to bring the focus. Do we understand? I mean, it's such a big threat that it could upset every other thing that we're doing. Let me give you an instance. We've talked about food security now. It's in danger. You're building infrastructure, rail infrastructure. Only recently, the rail lines came under attack. There'll be questions as to, is it really wise to continue building when we haven't secured the place first? Well, but you see why I say, while it's your interview, if you allow us to answer the questions, but you can't deal with security or secure anybody if you don't deal with poverty. When I was governor... So what are the plans of the government to deal with poverty? By all means, go ahead. Well, but when I was governor, you knew me. I had a similar situation. In fact, in my own situation, it was slightly worse because 2 months old children were being kidnapped in Port Harcourt. Everybody had run away from Port Harcourt when I was governor. And by the time I was leaving, 60% of those who ran away were back. But let's take the issues you raised. Oh, you secure us. He can't secure you if you don't deal with poverty. Because a hungry man is willing to take a risk. Because he either dies of hunger or he dies of being killed by the instrumentality of government powers. So if you want to deal with security, you deal with poverty. The people who are poverty. Some people will disagree with you that the problem is poverty. Yes, poverty. But the people who are carrying out these attacks are well armed. Right now we have a problem of how much do those guns cost? If you go to Libya and buy those guns, and then if you is it easier to buy guns than to buy food? Of course. It's easier to buy guns than to buy food? Let me tell you why. It's economics. Let me tell you why. He goes to Libya, he buys guns, maybe 250,000 or maybe 300,000 or 150,000 or 50,000, I don't know how much they sell guns. And he brings the gun here, kidnaps you, gets 500,000. Does it make economic sense for the man? So should the solution be that all of us should own guns now? No, that's not the solution. The solution is that we should continue with the federal government policy of enhancing economic creativity. What is economic creativity? It includes diversification. Now, if you focus on agriculture, if you focus on infrastructure, if you focus on power, you will create avenue for people to create revenue for themselves.
Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. And we're bringing you the concluding segment of our interview with the Honorable Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amaechi. In March this year, at a convocation lecture delivered by the minister, he said concerns about Nigeria's future are legitimate. We ask his views on the future of the country. Honorable Minister, I'm going to, draw some quotes from a convocation lecture which you delivered recently. You said that it was okay at the University of Calabar, I think, this year. You expressed concern about Nigeria's future. You said that concerns about Nigeria's future are legitimate, even though you were quite optimistic in that lecture. You said you talked about poverty too. I mean, the same poverty. You also acknowledged that we now have a plethora of criminal infractions ranging from transactional kidnapping, mass school abductions, armed robbery, cultism, rape, urban gang warfare. These are the things that seems to be getting more and more pronounced in our country. And, so far so good. There'll be questions of the political leadership. You are a part of, apart from being minister, part of the reasons why you got to, where you are right now is because you're a part of the political leadership, which saw the last government out of office. But there are questions right now about the country's future. And there are, as you rightly said, legitimate concerns about whether or not we'll be able to weather the storms even up to 2023.
Why do you think we will not?
Why do you think we will?
Going by the challenges we've had, have you looked at the economic indices? Have you looked at the economic indices? That will show you how hard the government is working. The projection by IMF, they admitted we surpassed it.
The economic indices are for those that are alive, your Honorable Minister. You must acknowledge. Let me just say something.
I'm not here for a burial ceremony. If you want to do a burial ceremony, I have to go home.
But we have to acknowledge that some people have died. I mean, let's even take those who were burnt recently in Sokoto in a bus. Some were just trying to go about their activities.
So the government went there and burned them.
So government didn't, but it's government's job to protect them. You don't agree?
The first thing you must look at when it comes to Boko Haram is education. When you deal with education, because that's what happens when they're ignorant people. In the University of Port Harcourt, the first thing they taught me is that the worst person to deal with is the person who has half education. It's even better, worse than the person who is ignorant completely, who doesn't have a degree, who doesn't have a school certificate. Now, the problem in those areas are people who are uneducated, and therefore, apart from the fact that they don't know anything, they are unemployable. So government must deal with a way by which they create employment for them through education. They must go to school. If they can't go to school, you have to put a formula in place that makes them employable. You have to create skills, get them trained and all that. Now, if you do that, if you deal with education, you deal with infrastructure that creates employment. That's what I did in Port Harcourt.
So it's a good thing. The question is, are these ideas lacking right now?
At that point, you're talking about a larger society.
Indeed.
And the larger society is that the number of persons that you need to feed has increased 10 times. The number of persons that you need to put in school has also increased. The resources may not be as poor as that of Rivers State, but the resources are not there. So you really have to, it's a thing that the federal government has to take its time to provide the resources, to realize that, oh, listen, it's our responsibility to ensure that people are kept alive. So we have to provide resources to get people educated. We have to, and I'm always an advocate for free education. Believe me, I'm an advocate for free education. The reason why education should be free is that the poor man can't afford it.
So would we say that so far so good? I mean, you have party members at the state level, don't we? We have party members, I mean, would you say that it is a structure that is not working? The structure
whatever
of Nigeria.
structure of Nigeria you put in place, if you don't address poverty both in the south and in the north and the east and the west, you will have the outcome that you have now. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you like, put any new structure in place. If you like, give power to all the southerners or give power to all the northerners. If you don't deal with the issue of economic growth and the realities of taking away poverty from the ordinary poor people and taking away, making few Nigerians to be 3 times richer than the country to the detriment of the poor, then you will have this. Now nobody is resting. No big man can drive freely like he used to do before, bang his car with sound music, and his children are driving and running, going out of place, going to my time. It's no longer there. Now the roads are free. From 7 p.m. you can do Formula 1 race in Abuja. Everybody is running home. Maybe it encourages good marriage because now wives see their husbands at home. Less beer to drink. Because when you were denying the poor, you never knew we would get here.
So you do admit that we're somewhere that is a bit difficult.
I didn't say it's insurmountable. It's insurmountable. It is surmountable. But I'm saying that first acknowledge that these were the reasons why this happened, and to address them, you have to address these issues. If you don't put money in the hands of Nigerians, if you don't create wealth for Nigerians and other Nigerians, if you don't realize that people can't just walk into government and collect money and move away, that money they're collecting and moving away is the money you need to train the bandits, is the money you need to train their children. If you don't realize that, even you and I won't come to channels.
I'm going to ask you to speak to doctors, young doctors who are planning their next trip out of this country, to young people who think that there is no hope, there's nothing to stay here and work for. What would be your thoughts, your words to them if you were to speak to them?
My name is Chibike Rotimi Amaechi. I left the university at the age of, what was it? I can't remember now whether it's 20 or 18 or 19, I can't remember. When I left the university, first, when I was in university, I was wearing a trouser, a shirt for almost 4 years. My classmates were funky, going to parties, coming in. Oh, I'm going to JAND. When I graduated, I'm going to JAND, I'm going to America. And they all left. I don't want to be accused of arrogance, but I'm about one of the highest improved member of our class. I didn't leave the country, I was here. It's a country of opportunity. Okay, so I'm using myself as an example. My classmates, no one has been governor. The only person who has been governor that's my senior is Timi Presiva. He too didn't leave the country. If he left the country, he would not have been governor. If he left the country, he would not have been minister. Alex Oti didn't leave the country. I don't know if you know Alex Oti. He became managing director of... Exactly. So when you face challenges, and I warn my children, if you don't face poverty, you will not be able to manage wealth. You need to sit here and manage challenges and difficulties. Okay, that's an advice. Let's also look at economics. All we need to do is weaponize the 200 million Nigerians that we have with economic growth. If you grow the economy to such an extent that you put money in the hands of the 200 million Nigerians, just imagine that you feed 10 million Nigerians per day with $1 per meal. You are a caterer. You have a catering office or platform in Lagos, and you feed 10 million Nigerians per day with $1 per meal. How much would that be? That would be $10 million. It just simply means that the opportunities are here, but we refuse to take it. You say, okay, yeah, opportunities are here, we refuse to take it. What about the resources to fund it? You really look... Okay, let me give you an example. As governor of Rivers State, President Yar'Adua instituted an economic process by which he approved 200 billion naira to be deposited with CBN at 5 to 6%, between 5 and 9% interest rate. How many Nigerians took it? And purely for agric. Under this government, there have been so many. In fact, there's another one that I think was President Goodluck Jonathan, about 250 billion naira enterprise loan. It was big men that went to take that money. It was when Buhari became president that they returned it quickly. You were scared of Buhari. They returned the money. But 250 billion naira, go and borrow the money, establish company, establish whatever you want to establish, employ Nigerians. I don't know where the money is now. I'm sure you're satisfied. If you look at your time, we'll have exhausted. The point is, we all blame government. Like the president will say, if tomorrow you're not able to get pregnant, it's a Buhari.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Honorable Minister Rotimi Amaechi, thank you for coming on Hard Copy.
God bless you, Mama. Thank you very much.
That's our program tonight, but there's one more before the year is out. So we ask you to keep a date with us, while we also expect your feedback through the handles showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Amaechi. Once again, Merry Christmas and good night.